IPMNation.com.
This is Richie.
This is Andrew.
And we're from Athoy, and you're listening to
Local Outbreak
on the IPM Nation.
Outbreak on IPM Nation. This is Matt from IPM Nation. We are here at the studio at 50 Canal Street in downtown Laconia, where we record every Tuesday night. So we love having a studio audience, so feel free to come on down, check it out. The studio in downtown Laconia, thestudionh.com is the website if you want to check it out online. Funky little gift shop and art gallery. And very grateful to Melissa for letting us do the show here every week. And, of course, we are also sponsored by Central NH Events. If you need a DJ for your event, go to centralnhevents.com. Tim Martin does a fantastic job, centralnhevents.com. And also Matt Marcil from Tweak Sound and Mastering, tweaksound.com if you need some recording done. The microphone I'm speaking into right now is courtesy of Mr. Marcil, so very grateful to him as well. And we have with us this week two of the guys from the band At the Heart of It. So we have Andrew and Richie. How are you guys?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
What do you guys each do in the band?
I play guitar, and I do backing vocals.
Okay.
Richie, I do all the vocals, and I write the lyrics.
Okay, and who's not with us this week? Who didn't make it?
Well, we have another guitar player, bass player, and a drummer who could not be named at the moment because of...
They're actually in other bands that are big-time secret.
Oh.
One of them plays in Blink-182.
Uh-huh, okay.
The other two we can't talk about.
Sure. Yeah, well, it's a
that
thing.
should give you a sense of, how important it is that they're not here.
Right. Absolutely. If you spoke about them, it might be like contract tampering or something.
Oh, especially Tom DeLonge and the alien thing going on.
Yes.
It's just you got to make sure we keep everything separate.
No names.
Well, I can edit it. I can edit out the name. Well, yeah, I'll have to edit that, too. You'll hear a little bleep. But I can edit the name. We don't have to know that you said Tom DeLonge. I mean, we'll know.
Andrew likes to curse.
I do my best not to.
All right.
You lie.
I believe him, but I don't know him very well. So you guys are actually a 5-piece total?
Correct.
Okay. And have you always been a 5-piece?
No.
I didn't think so, because I thought I saw a picture online of just 4 of you.
The picture of the 4 was actually the group of people that actually recorded the record. We did have we had a friend who's been playing with us for years who helped me with engineering and recording the record, played drums on it, and he ended up having to do other things. He actually does cyclocross and is very prominent in that scene right now with that, so he didn't really have the means to commit to doing something like this full time.
Sure.
And then we ended up adding a guitar player recently. Yeah,
there's definitely been a big changing of the guard with this band.
Yeah.
Andrew and I have been trying to put it together for, 3.5, something like that, years.
Really? Yeah.
And we've always had the ideas, the kernels in the back of our head, and people that are involved are kind of, they're important, and getting the right people was very important.
Right.
But...
Well,
it's been brewing.
That can be quite the struggle, finding that right combination of people who, not only fit musically, but, who fit personality-wise and all that stuff.
It's very much like dating, but when just the same kind of things you look for someone who's going to be, committed and trustworthy and all this other stuff. But instead of just one person, you have to find like 4 and then try to make everyone's schedule somehow magically mesh together.
Right. And quite honestly, I've heard Tom DeLonge is kind of difficult.
Oh, I'm going to plead the fifth on that.
I don't expect you to comment on that, but and this is cool because you guys are going to play for us tonight acoustically.
Yep.
We're gonna do that at the end of the show, and you also have some tracks from your new disc, which is self-titled, and that's coming out in March. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
March.
It's actually coming out.
Excellent.
I think by the time that this airs, it will already be out.
Okay, fantastic. So good. So people will hear this and get that instant gratification of just being able to go right.
Exactly, being able to go up and either go to our website or go to Bandcamp, be able to hear it.
What's your website?
Our website is attheheartofit.net.
Okay, excellent.
Easy to remember.
Were you surprised? Because that's kind of a common phrase. Were you surprised that was available?
Well, at theheartofit.com was like, they wanted about $2,000 for that. So we were, no thanks. We're good with net. Net works just fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we would have went with .org if we had to.
Right. There you go. Well, a lot of bands are sort of non-profit, not by choice, but it's
just anything at the end. I mean, I think aren't they releasing? They're supposed to be releasing like hundreds and thousands more domain names because they're going to keep changing the ends.
Yeah, there's always more. I looked up some recently. I was surprised. There's what was the one that really surprised me? Oh, there's some like that are specific to New York. Like you can get .nyc.
Really?
I guess if you're in New York City and.
Like you just say you're from some like foreign country and just use their ending?
Probably, yeah. You can probably do that. So, yeah, they're always adding more, and some of them are really strange. And the stranger ones are the more expensive ones because,
or the more common ones.
Nobody has them yet. Yeah. I looked into getting. I'll say this off the air. I don't want to say it on the air, but I have something interesting to add to the conversation that I don't want to mention. I'm not going to edit myself, So every time I've said Tom DeLonge, you guys are screwed. That's staying in. I don't edit me. But anyway, why don't we play something from your self-titled release, At the Heart of It, which, like you said, will probably be out when this comes out, when this is on. What do you want to play?
We're going to go with the song that we actually just recently released up to our Bandcamp because essentially we've been doing them, just trickling them in. Create Sustain. Okay. It's actually the third track off the record.
Create Sustain?
Yes.
Okay, so this is Create Sustain from At the Heart of It here on Local Outbreak on IPM Nation.
Every word that we spoke, every chord, every note, every memory, always. Can I feel the wind? Is it always loud and free? What's been is never gone if you refuse to let it be.
Local Outbreak on IPM Nation. This is Matt from IPM Nation. We are here at the studio with Andrew and Richie from the band At the Heart of It, playing some new stuff from their new disc. And they're going to perform for us later, acoustic live here on the show. Richie, so actually an off-air conversation, this happens a lot, an off-air conversation that caught my ear was, so you own New Hampshire Booking, or is it New Hampshire Booking or NH Booking?
Go by NH Booking.
Okay.
Yep.
Have we ever met before tonight?
Possibly. I've met a lot of people over the years. I started that in 2003, 2004.
Okay.
I did it for a long time, and the last few years I've been on hiatus, but definitely going to be coming back in a big way this year.
Very cool. Good. Oh, it's breaking news here on...
Yep. Actually, probably the first to hear it here. NH Booking will be coming back. I've noticed lately that New Hampshire has kind of been lacking on the local show front, and even tours coming through that I used to do a lot. And I mean, there are some people still doing stuff, but I don't know. There's a sense of community that seems to be really gone.
Right.
And that I always kind of prided myself in being able to sort of help develop. And I'd really like to bring that back, yeah.
Yeah, because I used to see that name around a lot.
Oh, yeah, we did. At our peak, we were doing like 4 shows a week. We were crazy.
Wow. Yeah. And who did you team up with anybody, or was it basically just you? Or
I've had a lot of partners over the years. The problem with partners, and you know, there's been great things about all of them, but the problem with partners is they have their own vision about where they want to take it. And my thing is, I've always been a big fan of music. You know, when I was younger, music kind of saved my life, and I've always been devoted to it ever since. And so I've been a fan, and I've been in lots of bands, and I see everything from their perspectives. And it's not always about money for me. I'm not going to say any names because that would be awful, but I like the idea of fostering sort of a community, you know what I mean? And bands helping out bands instead of competing against each other, and the fans being, you know, just as important, if not more important than the bands themselves. And
absolutely.
Having that mentality.
Fans benefit so much greater when bands work together and it's not fighting for ticket sales and all that other junk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The ticket sales thing is brutal.
It's the pay-to-play stuff that really shouldn't be happening.
It's part of why I got out of it, to be honest. Really? There's just a lot of drama, and you can never make anyone happy, and just a lot of egos and just drama.
Yeah.
And a lot of the devaluation of what a lot of musicians go through, and a lot of the art that's involved by this paying to play and giving everything away for free. Then, you know, this is all an art. This is all skill. This all takes a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. It's not something that, you know, I don't think every musician is an expert promoter or an expert, you know, salesman. I mean, you do enough to try to make yourself a decent player to try to turn around and try to make yourself into a salesman as well.
Right. Well, I think too, a lot of people assume that people expect it to be easier than it is. You know, I have an axiom. I've always said, you know, everybody wants to be a rock star, but only as long as it's easy. You know, a lot of people don't have. I mean, it sounds like you guys have you know, struggled with that a little bit, kind of finding the right combination of people. You know, you talked about, you know, I mean, you guys are kind of it sounds like really the heart of the band, right? I mean,
I mean, I wrote most of the music on the record, and Rich wrote pretty much all the lyrics on it. So I mean, for the most part, this is the creative force right now in it. I mean, we're definitely not, you know, single-minded in the way that we think that, you know, we're the only ones that are ever going to write in this band.
It's important to point out that the other people that are in this band or have been in this band in the past have been a big force.
Everyone's had contributions.
We've been very specific about like what we want to do with this band and what we want to accomplish and where we want to take it, and those goals don't necessarily line up with traditional thinking.
Okay.
So finding people that get it and are okay with going along with that and understand what we're trying to do and why it's important, it's rare. And so I have to commend everyone that's been a part of this band at any point in time, whether they're in it right now or not, like for putting up with us and for being there and helping us take that step to get to where we are now. Like definitely big shout outs to all those people. They know who they are. So.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. That's really cool. Can you expand on, you mentioned, you know, not traditional thinking in terms of your approach to the band. Can you kind of...
Well, we've done pretty much everything ourselves.
Yeah.
Like we recorded our own record. I mixed it. I've never mixed a record in my life.
Really? On the job training. Yeah.
Well, I've had some experience with recording, and I was always fascinated with it. But, I went out and I bought microphones, and I spent all day on multiple forums figuring things out. I have some really awesome producer friends who I am going to name drop because they do deserve the credit. Shane O'Connor, who actually has something to do with Fences, actually. I don't know if you've heard of him. He did the little collaboration with Malcolm Moore not too long ago.
Okay.
He actually worked with him at one point. Mike Machetto, who runs The Office studio. He's actually the bass player in Aviator, who just got signed by No Sleep.
Nice.
Not too long ago. They're kindred friends of ours.
Good.
They've been great to have bounce ideas off of and listen to rough mixes and kind of point me in the right direction. But we did pretty much everything in house. I mean, we made our own website, we did our own photography, we did our own graphics. Kind of looking up to, I guess, like bands like Converge that try to keep as much in house as humanly possible.
Right.
And really just, every single part of what we do has us written all over it.
Mm-hmm. And there's definitely an advantage, probably quite a few advantages to doing it that way. One of them, of course, being that you have so much control kind of over your own destiny. It's interesting that we live in an era, basically because of the internet, there's ways to do all this stuff as opposed to, say, 20 years ago where, your only shot really was, you get a band together, you go out, you play some clubs, try to make those connections and hope that, I call him the mythical record company scout. You hope that he shows up one night and is so mesmerized by you that he's offering you a 10 album deal and flying you out to LA and whatever. And of course that doesn't happen anymore, and it never really quite was that simple anyway. But now in this era, you guys have the ability to do all this stuff on your own and really kind of keep it, like you said, in-house and really keep control of it. Doesn't mean, obviously, if Warner Brothers offered you a deal, doesn't mean you wouldn't take it. No, it probably does mean that. Well, but not necessarily. I mean,
creative control is.
It doesn't necessarily mean that, but
right.
Yeah, it's.
There are certain things you can't put price tags on.
Yeah,
we have a lot to say, and that's the driving force behind this band is like we have things to say, and we think that a lot of bands, a lot of artists out there, especially when you start to get into major records and stuff, major record labels, it's like they're saying a lot, but they don't really have a lot to say, if that makes any sense. And it kind of dawned on me that there are a lot of artists that are kind of being idolized and they just don't have anything important to say. And music can really be a tool for social awareness. It can really be something that can bring us all together. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel like it's being used as well these days in that respect as it used to be.
Yeah.
Though there definitely are bands that have gone out of their way.
Oh, yeah.
And are definitely, on the same mindset that we are. I mean, not too long ago, actually, I got to see Laura Jane Grace play down at Wesley College down in Boston.
Yeah.
Did an acoustic performance, and she is an amazing performer, an amazing woman, and just that level of, I guess, courage to go out and just say exactly what she means to say exactly what she thinks, and really utilize her force in media and entertainment to try to actually evoke some type of change in the world around her has been just it's had such a resounding effect on at least me and in the ways that I think and the ways that I try to perceive music that we've only wanted to just try to follow behind that and try to go with that idea.
Why do you think it's so hard or so rare to do that?
It's not popular. I mean, if you think about it, like Bob Dylan these days would probably be cast aside.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat. I mean, he doesn't have the look, they'd buy him a backing band, they'd write all of his songs, and they'd stick him up on stage, and he'd be, singing Kelly Clarkson songs.
Right.
It's a lot harder these days too. Labels tend to be a lot pickier about what they push. They're looking for artists that have already built themselves.
Right. There's no artist development anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. They want that pre-made package. They want
and typically by the time you get to that point, they just go, well, we're buying a voice. We don't care what you write. Right. I mean, we had friends who were in another band that I'm not going to mention names, but they got spec'd out to Universal. They brought them in. They sat them down. They said, we love your sound. We just want to write all your songs. And they said, no, we're all set. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, the horror stories are endless. I mean, you hear stories, bands, they record an album for a major label, and then it gets shelved, and then the band gets dropped, and they don't have even the rights to the album they just went and recorded, and
exactly,
you know, can't do anything with those songs in some cases. Yeah. I mean, it's awful, the horror stories. And then, so I know what you mean, Andrew, when you say you wouldn't necessarily sign that Warner Brothers contract, because, you know, it could go very, very badly. You could actually end up in a worse position, not a better one.
A lot of the bands that, like, we look up to, like, I hold Thursday near and dear to my heart. They're one of the bands that really got me into this kind of style of dynamic music, I guess, for lack of a better word.
I think that band's really special.
And just watching them go from being on Victory and then getting picked up by Island, and now they could play a show every day for the rest of their life. They don't exist anymore. But they could play a show every day for the rest of their life and never pay off their bill that they owe to Universal.
Right.
As long as they live. Because as soon as you sign that contract, you give them carte blanche to just rack up whatever charges they want to sell you to the amount that they want.
Right.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Tough these days.
Interesting, yeah.
You know, between all the 360 deals, you know, records aren't selling anymore. People are downloading everything for free, and it's like, it's a blessing and a curse because it's a lot harder to do music as a career. But at the same time, it's easier to pick out the bands that are doing things for the right reasons and the bands that are passionate about what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, also, too, I mean, you guys have a very professional presentation, and that...
Thank you, actually.
Oh, you're welcome. But that helps you stand out, too, because, you know, again, with the internet, with YouTube especially, too, you know, every time, like, you can put up a video of a song and you're competing with, you know, all this other stuff, somebody's video of an adorable kitten doing whatever, you know. But if you're... So much of that stuff, though, so much of the music that bands put up there or anywhere on the internet, so much of it, the presentation itself is kind of half-assed because they don't know any better. So if you have a professional presentation, that helps you kind of rise above, you know, and makes you look like, you know, maybe you are on a major label or an indie label or whatever, or you just really have it together. But, you know, not everyone thinks about it that deep, you know.
We try to remove barriers to entry, and we're not going to do that with the music that we make itself. We're very passionate about the kind of music we want to do.
Yeah.
And so the only way to really remove barriers to entry is to... anything that's going to make someone want to walk away or think this isn't worth my time, just smooth it over, be as pro with it as you can, and make it as appealing as you can, because there could be someone who, you know, this music could change their life potentially. It could, not to have an ego or anything, because obviously we don't, but there could be some kid out there who this material really means something to, and he never bothered to find it because there was something off-putting about the presentation, and we definitely want to remove those obstacles. So it's interesting having such a DIY aesthetic and at the same time taking it such a professional direction.
Yeah, very cool.
Results in a lot of sleep deprivation.
You know, hey, we all sleep when we're dead.
That's pretty much what I've adopted these years.
I tell everybody there's a reason I always look tired. It's because I'm always tired. Whatever.
So I was working.
Yeah.
Right.
Why don't we play another track from your new release, your self-titled release, At the Heart of It? What do you guys want to play?
Sounds good. All right, we're going to play Soleil, actually. This is the first song that we ever put up for streaming.
Okay.
It's a heavier one, and I hope you like it.
All right, very good. So this is Soleil from At the Heart of It here on Local Outbreak on IPM Nation.
Will I never see the sun again? Think you grow content with the distance. Still you insist it was never meant for me. Was never meant for me. A reminder of my self-fulfilling thing. Always waiting to come apart. Can't you just follow your heart? Always reaching for all that you want, instead of holding on to all that you've got. And now the last of light and rifle like I'm taking flight across the sanded sea. But these city streets so cling to ancient memories.
Local Outbreak on IPM Nation. This is Matt from IPM Nation. Let's take a moment to remind everybody, too, that, of course, Local Outbreak can be heard on 100.1 The Planet if you're in central New Hampshire every Saturday night at 9 p.m., a new episode. And then that replays every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And if you are not in central New Hampshire, you can also stream it at IPMNation.com, our new live channel. And then we do archive all the shows also at IPMNation.com/Local Outbreak, going all the way back to the beginning of the show. And once it goes up in the archive, it stays there forever. So, been doing
or until the internet dies.
Until the internet dies, yes. Don't anyone kill the internet. I'm not done with it.
So many more Left Shark videos to see.
I know, right? So much. There's so much. It's easy to go down the rabbit hole and end up in that vortex. I find that especially with YouTube. You know, because it's like you find one thing that's interesting and you watch it, and then you got all these other choices for things that might also be interesting to you. And
the worst is when you start like trying to learn something, you're like, okay, I learned this. What else can I learn? And you're just like, what are you doing? I'm going to sit in front of YouTube and learn how to knit. You've never knit in your life. I know, but YouTube. I can.
But
great.
At least that's something useful, though. You know, learning's always useful.
Yeah.
As long as you're learning something good. So you guys, tell me a little bit about, it's kind of a cliche question, but I do want to know about influences and who influences you guys and what do you listen to?
We have a lot of influences. I mean, the thing is we don't really associate any particular sound with our influences. It's more a feeling and there's kind of a thread of a certain feeling that goes through all the songs and not necessarily a certain sound.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we've been listening to a lot of bands for a long time. I think the one I definitely need to point out is Thursday, obviously, which we've already mentioned prior. But
and his schizophrenic off-breed there, United Nations, which is a grindcore band that Jeff Rickley fronts, that as well has been. It's almost like an art project, and they've actually had influence even both on musical and the art level of just seeing things in a different light, I guess.
Yeah, just the aesthetic that band had. And what they were doing when I was a lot younger and when I was growing up just really inspired me and pushed me in the right direction. And it showed me like what music could be and how it could be, you know, this ability just to communicate with people and to have a dialogue with the people that are listening to your art. And it's inclusive, you know. It's not like I'm a rock star up here and you're down there and, you know, you're paying me. It's we're a family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what every show was. You know, you're a part of this. And, like, that resonated with me, and I kind of kept that with me throughout the years. And, I mean, there's a lot of important bands, but that's definitely the anchor.
Probably, like, on one of Rich's favorites, On the Might of Princes, which definitely had some... I mean, they're more of an obscure band, but definitely had some influence on things. And
they were a Revelation Records band.
Okay.
In the early 2000s. And not many people really know about them, but they were way before their time. They had a very cursive or at the drive-in sort of sound.
Okay, yeah.
And their guitarist and singer actually passed away a couple of years back, and that was kind of sad. But just seeing what that band was doing and what they were putting into their art, even though they weren't becoming that successful and that well-known.
Yeah.
And, like, the connection that they made with people was just really inspiring.
Yeah. What about in terms of, I mean, obviously, this is stuff that goes into your music in terms of what you're recording, but what about the live show?
Oh, goodness
live
gracious.
show is the most important aspect. Everything else lives to feed the live show, you know?
Yeah.
It's, like I said, that feeling of family and camaraderie and coming together and feeling like your fans aren't fans, they're friends, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And there's an enormous cathartic release with playing live. I mean, both me and Rich are kind of the... I guess if you were going to put it in terms of a comparison, like the Cedric and Omar, you know, of At the Drive-In, where they're both kind of just out of their minds at points and while trying to still kind of keep things still going forward. But
right.
It's just kind of, I have like the inability to just sit still and play. Like it literally is once the first chord hits out, it's just that's all I am, and that's all I'm.
Yeah.
It's making that connection is just really important. I think, you know, my favorite bands have always been the ones where they could play a 2,000 plus room and make it feel like it's this intimate 50-person, room where there's just that connection and those barriers are kind of removed. And music, I think music's important to everybody. It's kind of like in our souls. Music's like the one thing in life, it won't ever do you wrong. You don't trust somebody, someone screws you over or whatnot. Like, no matter what's going wrong in your life, it's like music's always there for you.
Right. Yeah. And there's very, very few people who don't, love or at least like music on some level. I'm always shocked have you ever run into someone who says, I don't really like music?
I think it's the same.
Incredibly rare.
It's the same as the people that say they like everything. I usually just pull the red flag up and say, okay, yeah, you have no idea.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Because you can mention like any obscure, like, oh, you like Swedish death metal?
Right.
No. Okay, one off the list. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Music is, it's sort of like this emotional glue. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why 99% of people out there find their favorite bands when they're in high school, and then that sticks with them for the rest of their lives. You know what I mean? Anyone you talk to, no matter what age they are, typically, that's what they love.
Right. Yeah.
When you ask them.
They get stuck in that. And
there's kind of a reason for that. I'm all about finding new music, obviously, because I make new music. But there's a reason why that happens, and that's because it's such a dramatic time in our lives when we're young, and to make those connections and the music just is almost like a soundtrack to your life, and it just stays with you.
Yeah. And people do get stuck. Actually, I've never talked about this before on the show, but my father is 67 years old, and my dad continues to seek out and loves hearing new stuff. And he's always been like that. He lives on the seacoast, and he listens to WUNH, college station, and he's hipper than me in that regard, because he'll ask me about bands I haven't heard of. And he's like, Maddie, you got to check this out. And, I'm that way too. I love hearing new stuff, and I refuse to get stuck, in my era. I still love some of the stuff when I was a kid, but I also love hearing new stuff. But my dad is like, and it's legit too. Like, he's not this old dude trying to fit in with people who are younger than him. Like, he legit loves hearing new stuff. And and my uncle's the same way, actually. He's a little younger than my dad, but I'm just really proud of that, and maybe that's where I got it from. But my dad at 67, I would not get into his car and he turns on the radio and an oldies station comes on. It wouldn't happen. Doesn't mean he doesn't like that stuff, but he wants to hear new music, and he loves the variety that's out there.
I know the feeling. The feeling. Our hunger for finding new music is insatiable, I'd like to say.
I think we probably send each other new bands at least probably twice a week. We go, hey, check this band out, and we'll just go back and forth and stuff. And
that's really cool, yeah.
But I think that tends to create musicians a lot of times is, you keep looking for new music and then eventually you realize you can't find it. Even it may just be a slight offshoot of things that you love, or it could be something completely different. But either way, it boils down. A lot of musicians, it's just they can't find what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, this needs to exist. This is important. This is in my head.
Yeah.
It needs to come out. People need to see what's great about it and see what, I see in my head.
I think you're right. That's a really interesting insight. I think you're right. I think there's something to that, yeah.
There's always going to be a lot of bands that are just like, oh, this band is successful, let's go sound like them.
Oh, of course,
but I don't think that's where you find the passion these days, for sure.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Especially just the ones out there right now that are innovating and really pushing. Have you heard of Deaf Heaven?
No.
So I think Metacritic, is the one that compiles all the album reviews. And 2 years ago, they had one of the highest rated on Metacritic albums, which was Sunday there.
Yeah.
And what they did was just out of left field. It's essentially taking the vocals of black metal and mixing it with shoegaze.
Yeah.
Which sounds really jarring, but it has this beautiful and chaotic kind of sound to it that just meshes together so well. And I've never been a black metal fan my entire life.
Yeah.
Probably couldn't name another black metal band if you asked me.
Right.
I saw them play with my wife in Burlington, Vermont, when we were coming back from Canada in a venue, a higher ground, probably had maybe 30 kids, and it was probably one of the coolest shows I've ever seen.
Higher ground?
It's actually in
Burlington?
it's in Burlington.
Okay.
It's a little Chinese food restaurants in it too.
Okay, yeah.
It's like 30 kids. They sold out in Montreal the night before, full packed place. We get to see them with just 30 kids, and it was, even that just influenced me, just going like, wow, like you guys are able to do this much, and as well putting on the same kind of show with having 30 kids or 300 kids, 3,000 kids. I mean, they've played probably every Western Coast fest that exists.
Yeah.
And, you know, these are the bands that you got to look up to and go, wow, like these are the bands that are really trying to pioneer and push things forward and try to do that on our own way.
Yeah. And that's a really good example too of when I go back to like, we don't have a particular sound that we're trying to hit. It's more a feeling, you know what I mean? All these bands, like, we might not listen to anything else that sounds like that, but there's something about them where they're hitting a certain nerve. They feel a certain way. Yeah. They make you feel a certain way about their music, and it's important, so we gravitate towards it.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, what we do is probably an acquired taste for most. I mean, not as bad as some of the bands, but I mean, there are certain things that we do that are a little bit more accessible, but for the most part, some of the more aggressive things is an acquired taste.
Oh, plenty of the stuff that we do just sounds like noise to a lot of, like, I don't have very many friends that have the same taste in music, ironically, as me.
Yeah.
Or family for that matter. And it's like, anyone I show this stuff, it's just like, they don't understand it, you know? It's just noise, but like, I understand it. I understand that if there's somebody out there that's like me, that understands, gets the same thing out of music that I get.
Right.
They're going to understand it and hopefully gravitate towards it.
Well, my theory too has always been there's an audience for everything. You know, it's just it's a matter of finding that audience, or that audience finding what you're doing. But I think there's an audience.
That techno polka mashup you're going for, Rich, might actually work.
Shh, don't give away my secrets.
I think there is an audience for that. What you got to do is you got to get Tom DeLonge in on that.
And the Aliens.
How do you know I don't already?
Well, that's true. I don't know that.
It's funny, actually, going back to what you were saying before. For the longest time, like, my mom has always been really supportive of what I do musically. It's changed from, I was a metalhead growing up, and then it changed into this, where it became less and less accessible. And I remember when I was in Boston, she came down one day, and I love records. And she was kind of cool about it, like, oh, you have records too. And she sat down, and I made her sit down with me and listen through the records. And I gave her the lyric sheets, and I explained the songs. And after like one record, I listened to Pianos Become the Teeth, which is actually one of our favorite bands between me and Rich. And I to explain it to her, and it clicked.
Yeah.
And ever since then, she doesn't like seek it out as much.
Yeah.
But she can appreciate so much more and understand what I see in it and what we see in it. And sometimes that's the hardest part, is being able to explain why this is the way it is. Mm-hmm. There is a reason for the screaming and the yelling and the noise and the distortion and the angriness. It's not just little kids having a tantrum. There's a reason.
Right, exactly.
Just explaining it sometimes is the difficult part.
Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of bands that it is just noise.
Sure.
And I
there actually is. Noise is actually an entire genre.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
There actually are some that do a really cool job with it too. They have like bent circuit boards and like all this crazy.
When I first started getting into music, I hated hardcore music. I hated stuff that was aggressive, and it was because I didn't know it at the time, but all of the bands that I was subjected to or that I'd listened to just weren't doing it right.
Okay.
They weren't good musicians. They weren't writing good songs, and it's very, very easy to be a bad heavy band. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if you happen to hear the wrong bands, you don't realize what they can do right.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So,
well, why don't we play another track? And I know a little bit later you guys are going to play live for us here, but why don't we'll play another something from your...
So we're going to throw kind of a curveball, and we're going to actually play the longest track on the record.
Okay.
Which is past his prologue. This clock's in at like just shy of 8 minutes.
Well, if it's got prologue in the title,
this is actually
got to be an epic.
This is actually a good time to kind of talk about the record in general, just a little bit, real quick.
Yeah,
it's a 6-track record.
Yeah.
And this song is the last track. And the first 5 tracks are actually a concept.
Oh, okay.
And they loosely tie into the idea of the 5 stages of grief.
Oh, okay.
So each song is its own story. But like I said, it's also tied into a certain stage of grief. So the first song is, denial.
Yeah.
And then it carries on from there. This song, being the 6th song, is the only song on the record that doesn't tie into that.
Okay.
And this is about moving on.
Oh, okay. Cool.
The whole record is sort of starting out in a really dark place and losing hope. And then by the end of it, kind of finding the courage to pick yourself up and to carry on and to get over the things that you've lost and be able to get on with your life. And so this last song is that point. It's, that grief is now in the past. This is the point where you're now moving on and you have this to look forward to.
Okay.
So.
All right, very good. Past is Prologue?
Past is Prologue.
All right, excellent. So this is Past is Prologue from At the Heart of It here on Local Outbreak on IPM Nation.
Sat there silent, without making a sound, lips pressed between the syllables you could never get out. Just another fiction derived from your head, another attempt to make amends with what was meant but never said. I'll never know. How can you make amends with the dead? How can you just pretend? Is it easier to make it? Easier than letting go? What's done is done. We climb the way to kill
Local Outbreak on IPM Nation. This is Matt from IPM Nation, wrapping up tonight with we have At the Heart of It here at the studio in downtown Laconia. By the way, the studio is at 50 Canal Street right in downtown Laconia. Please support your local businesses as well as your local music scene. Very, very important. TheStudioNH.com is the website if you want to check it out online, see what it's all about. Please come down, say hello to Melissa, buy stuff. Very, very cool place. And let's see, also Central NH Events. If you need a DJ for your event, go to centralnhevents.com. And, of course, if you need some recording done, Tweak Sound. TweakSound.com, actually, is where you can find Mr. Matt Marcil. He does a phenomenal job. He's also one of our sponsors. Don't forget the new IPM Nation live channel, streaming 24/7 from the Uptown Auto Repair Studios in Manchester, New Hampshire. And we do archive all the shows at ipmnation.com/local outbreaks. So going all the way back to the beginning of the show. And we're here tonight with Andrew and Richie from At the Heart of It. And we were kind of talking off air about some of the proceeds from this.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yeah.
You forgot one thing to support your local DJ as well. That being you.
Yes. Please support me.
And a big thank you to Melissa in the studio for having us here.
Absolutely.
It means everything.
Yeah. Well, I know she appreciates it. I think I heard her somewhere.
I heard a coo from the corner.
Yes.
This is awesome. You know, people that care enough about local music and about what's going on to allow this to happen is great.
Absolutely.
So yes, going back to what you were saying, Matt, we are donating actually 10% of every album sale. This isn't profits. This is album sale. Every single album, even actually we have a pre-order up, which actually by the time this comes out, it won't be a pre-order, it'll be a post-order, I guess, with actually a limited pressing shirt that we did. But we're going to be doing 10% of everything that we get in is going to be going to the Greater Boston PFLAG, which is an organization that helps people in the LGBTQ community and their families, just in general, I guess, just kind of helping them communicate, helping them with any issues and such that they're going through. Is a lot of the LGBTQ community kind of has enough problems as it is to worry about.
Right, absolutely. That's very cool. That's cool that you guys are doing that. Awesome.
Yeah, we kind of decided early on that whenever we do any kind of release, we wanted to find some worthy cause to donate a portion to.
Yeah.
Just music, there's so much you can do with it, and it's such a waste when you don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's awesome.
I mean, we both have a lot of friends that, I mean, are from the LGBTQ community. I mean, I have 2 trans friends that are some of the best people I know, and it sucks to see a lot of the things that they have to go through and a lot of the ridicule and harassment and the condescension that most people place upon them. Mm-hmm. That, you know, if we can do anything to help people that are being put in situations that are less than ideal, that are, I mean, less than ideal is sugarcoating it. A lot of the, a lot of what happens to these people, and that's what they are at the end of the day, and that's what I don't understand why people don't, is we're all people.
Exactly.
Some of the stuff that they go through is absolutely terrifying, disgusting, and just horrific.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go all the way back to Matthew Shepard in '96, or back even further if you'd like.
Yep.
At the end of the day, we're all people. We all bleed. We all die.
We all love.
And we all feel. And quicker that people kind of get hip to that and understand it, the better off we're going to be as a people in general.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Tip to be square. I heard that somewhere.
You're kind of a rhombus.
Also, too, where's the best place to go online to keep up with everything you guys do?
Attheheartofit.net.
Okay.
Or you can just find us on our Twitter.
Yep.
Or Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. Find a social media. I probably made us a page.
Yeah, you guys got it covered.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, you got the presentation going.
Certainly trying to.
You're easy to Google.
Lovely trying to figure out what in the world social media site I should be using, because half the time, or then how to use it. Oh my goodness!
Trying
Reddit
to understand
Reddit.
That's an adventure in and of itself.
Reddit was a week just to figure out how to post one thing.
Wow!
They did it wrong 6 times, and they just keep blocking me.
Well, you'll learn. So you guys are going to play for us live here in the studio tonight to finish up the show. What are you going to play?
This is actually a B-side, something that wasn't included on the record.
Okay.
It's an all-acoustic song that we wrote called Scars, and it's actually all singing, which is a little different from what's on the rest of the record.
And it's not the Papa Roach song.
Okay.
There's a Papa Roach song called Scars?
There is, and we're not going to mention it ever again.
Yeah.
It was a big hit, actually.
Yeah, it was still pretty crappy. Essentially, we wrote this up. My friend Matt, who was helping me engineer with this and was also playing drums on the record, he was doing some mix downs of some sessions we were doing earlier.
Wasn't it the last day of mixing?
I do believe, actually. I think it was the last day we were doing final mixes, and I was kind of sitting in front of my amp, and I ended up coming up with this chord structure, and out of the blue, Rich is like starting to just write his notes down in his notebook, and
we just wrote it there.
Hour and a half later, we're outside in the freezing cold writing the lyrics to it, going, okay, I think we have the song done. We went in and we recorded some of it. We should
have just been mixing and had the record done and been on our way. But then we were like, no, we're gonna record this song in the middle of the last day of mixing.
Yeah. The recording of it's not done yet. We have some tweaking to do, and there may be hope that it actually sees the light of day before the end of 2015.
All right. Well, in the meantime, we get this exclusive for Local Outbreak, so that's great. So, all right, and so and the song is called Scars.
Yes,
correct.
All right, great. So this is Andrew and Richie from At the Heart of It performing Scars here on Local Outbreak on IPM Nation.
Thank you again, Matt.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Remember this place, what it meant. You were never one for letting go. Could never replace all this world has taken from me. Can't seem to make sense of all the damage I've seen. Weighs on my heart, but these words cut deeper still. I bear my scars for all to see. And I never said this would be easy. I only know that it will be worth it in the end. I bear my scars for all to see. I bear my scars, and I never said this would be easy. I only know that it will be worth it in the end. I bear my scars for all to see. I bear my scars. I bear my scars for all to see. Well, I bear my scars for all to see.
IPMNation.com.